Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Airstream Wireless Incorporated Annual General Meeting for 2017. We're here at the Hackney Hotel again this year. Nice venue, and hopefully the live stream is all good for you guys that are remotely connected. Do let us know if there's an issue with audio or anything earlier in advance if you can, because we'd like to have you included as well. For those of you that are here, we've got the agenda provided on a slip of paper there for you to follow through, and on the back of that is the minutes from last year's meeting, which I will get you to quickly have a look at if you haven't seen them already. And as our first item of business, we will be accepting the minutes from last year to proceed with this meeting. And if I could just get a motion when you're ready from someone to accept the minutes, that would be fantastic. Who was that? Tony, thank you. And a seconder for those. One, Justin Piro, thank you. Show of hands for accepting the minutes from last year. Thank you, everyone. Looks like most of you. As you can see there, it's got the existing committee nominations and subsequent results of the ballot. This year we don't actually have a ballot. Due to the fact that the nomination process resulted in the exact number of candidates that were also available for positions on the committee. So that's going to make this evening's business a little bit shorter than usual, but that's good because we have some guest presenters this evening from Beam Internet, Josh Helbig and Sam Kerner from Beam Internet, who are going to give us a bit of a history and hopefully some interesting images as well of things that were involved with building their rural wireless network. And they've actually built one of the largest privately owned fixed wireless internet services in rural Australia. So they'll give you more information about that, and it'll be great to hear from them towards the end of our business. So let's start it off. I've just prepared a little bit of some slides here just from some events during the year that I wanted to make mention of. Now, first of all, earlier on this year, you would have remembered that we had a devastating failure with one of our, or a couple of our servers that provide the member systems, such as the Node database and the members DB and the email and other things like that. And I believe that's all online and running now and better than ever. So thank you for all of you that put up with that period. I think it took us a few months to actually get everything back up and running how we like it. But with the intention that this will be a better system for us to maintain going forward, and hopefully we can get more members involved as well with the maintenance of these systems. We do rely on the members DB particularly pretty heavily. That's where you guys are going to make sure your memberships are up to date and deal with your account and passwords and all those kinds of things. So it's a fairly critical piece of infrastructure that until now has it's really just been a member project. And over the course of last year, you would remember that Sam Greenwood also was assisting with the development of a new updated version of that system, which is now live and in production on the members.airstream.org. So we appreciate all Sam's efforts there as well. And I'm still working with him on fine-tuning that and fixing up any little bugs that you guys find. So remember to let us know if you do find anything like that as well. A few other things. The NodeDB is still a work in progress. As you guys know, I've mentioned it many times this year that's I'm open to collaboration and input from you guys on that, and I'm hoping that we can have more discussion around it as well, both in the member settings and in person. Look, feel free to always just message me online if you want to talk about that at any time. And there's other systems which we'll probably touch on during the evening as well, such as the DNS system and some of the other core services that the network really relies on, that I know the network team and specifically a number of members that are very keen and interested in that have been trying to come up with new ways that we can improve those. So thanks to all your input during the year on those as well, guys. That's been excellent. A few other things. We have been trialling out and it's actually interconnected with our existing chat network as well, a system called Slack this year. If you haven't got involved with that already, please do check that out. It's a web-based chat client, which you can also get a dedicated client for your phone as well. It's kind of like IRC, but it's instant messaging, and it seems to have been quite handy as far as getting new members involved, and also opening us up to the general interest from the public and allowing us to answer questions from people with queries. So a lot of you will be familiar with Slack. You probably use it in your day-to-day business or other environments as well. And since a lot of us were doing that, we thought we'd try it out. So it's been working pretty well. I think that's all I really want to mention on those points. Other things like the members lists, we've got those emailing lists for members and network specifically. They're all still operational, so if you have been missing them this year because they were down earlier on, please feel free to get involved with that again. And thanks to everyone as well this year that's been involved with specifically on the network list as well. I was reviewing that this week and just going back over the year and looking at the archive, and yeah, there's been a lot of good communication going on the network list, so I'm really happy with that and hope that can continue. Moving on, something else fairly interesting that happened this year, we were offered a few positions at a Microtik certified training course that was running, and they don't often run in Adelaide, but this time there was one scheduled for Adelaide. And one of our sponsors or partners that we've been involved with for many years now, Duxtel, Mike Everest from Duxtel let us know that he had a position available to attend the training, and we put that out to members to see if there was anyone interested or if the members could nominate someone. In the end, I think Steve Fraser was the lucky winner of the free seat at the Duxtel training, and he thoroughly enjoyed that. He actually gave us a bit of a review of his experience at the following members meeting, so you could probably catch that in our YouTube archive if you wanted to see how that sounded. But yeah, this was a great opportunity, and we have to thank Michael from Duxtel immensely for that. There were actually, towards the end of the week where that was coming up, he actually made another position available as well at the last minute, and one of our members was luckily able to fly over, to attend. It was he didn't have to fly anywhere, I don't think, hopefully. Yeah, so we actually had two members. That was, geez, who was that now? Spiro Koulianos, of course, yeah, and he also gave us a quick rundown, I think, on an email of what he thought of the experience. But generally, I think that was thoroughly enjoyed. So we really thank Mike for that and look forward to any future opportunities that Duxtel can provide in that regard. Certainly, we use the Microtik fairly extensively on our network, so that's really useful information and knowledge to have on board. I also wanted to make some special mention of the recent event of last week, which was Maker Faire. You guys would have seen a lot of publication on the mailing list and on the web about that. We're trying to get volunteers. In the end, a couple of key people that we often see volunteering for these types of things were present on the day, and Tony Dalmeyer, of course, who was key in orchestrating the whole event and getting people to volunteer. I have to thank Tony immensely for that one, and you'll be hearing more from him in his report later on fundraising and what he's planning with the barbecues as well. Also, John Briggs, Steve Fraser, and I believe Harry Parkinson as well. Parko, he made a bit of an appearance at the end there as well. So, look, guys, we really appreciate you taking the time off that day to come out and attend the event. And I know it was well received. I'm very aware that there were many people that we were communicating with that now know more about Airstream, whereas originally they really couldn't figure out what Airstream was doing from afar. So these people, you know, they appreciate that we can have a chat to them and kind of explain it in layman's terms. A few other shots from the day. There's one of Tony at the desk. Hang on, you're not even seeing what I'm seeing. Wait a minute. There's Maker Faire. Right, that helps. So that was the desk we had set up. This time we had a couple of tables there, and it was allowed us to lay out some equipment along the side as well, which was pretty cool. We had people just walking up looking at that randomly and then asking us more questions. See John and Steve there getting engaged with people. We did have a bit of hardware on display. I think you can see at the back there's a mast with some more modern Ubiquiti gear on it, and a rocket and nano beam and some things. And there's a shot of Steve talking to some guys as well. So yeah, thanks very much to you guys. And we've actually had news that Steve is actually leaving us to go into state, and he's going to be living in Tasmania. So I just want to give a round of applause to Steve for his involvement over the years. And I know, thank you. I don't think he could actually make it tonight, but he is watching. Excellent. Good on you, Steve. So he was involved with the network team as well last year, and I know he's been trying to make some impact where he can, and it's really appreciated. So hopefully we'll hear more from Steve as well, even though he's interstate, of course. You know, we've got communication channels nevertheless. Alrighty, and just another little update on Aslan as well. And also just slipping this in because I know a couple of the Aslan guys wanted to make it tonight, but unfortunately couldn't. And I just wanted to say thanks to Dan and the team for, I think, Aslan 41 and 42 executed successfully this year. Still at the Paravista location, which is proving to be a really good venue for these. And I just threw a few photos in here. Now, the most recent land that we had in July, Aslan 42, we actually secured a promotional barbecue there from North Point Toyota as a donation to Aslan. So we really appreciate that, and we want to thank North Point Toyota tonight as well for contributing that. Thanks very much. As you can see, it's a pretty cool back end of a car that's turned into a trailer thing. But I believe that really helped the guys out with some fundraising on the day. Not to mention feeding the lanners. So there are some more Aslans coming up. I know the most recent one, which was scheduled for this month, unfortunately got postponed due to some personal issues there with the guys in the team. So they apologise for that, and they have rescheduled it for the 16th of February. Same venue, and again it will be a 24-hour LAN going over the evening into the next day. So that's looking like a pretty good format. And if you're into the landing, keep an eye out for that. We're going to keep promoting it online. But thanks to everyone involved with Aslan. I know there's too many to list you all. It is much appreciated. And finally, from this point of view, I just also wanted to make special mention to Sean and John, who are always here early and setting up before everyone else to get the stream ready for all you guys that can't make it to these meetings and sometimes need to watch them after the fact as well from the archive. So thanks very much, guys. Another year, and I know there's an excellent collection of videos on there as well from this year. I don't think you really missed any. There's maybe one or two over the year, but I know our members are appreciating that greatly. So you guys put in a huge effort, and especially with the amount of equipment you've accrued over the years to perform this task. That's excellent. So they're the major points I wanted to make for tonight. I did also want to thank everyone involved in the network team last year. Justin Pirro, Sam Faunt, Steve Fraser, Adam Hackett, Ray Williams, Sam Burney, Daryl Collins, Chris Cichon. Apologise if I've missed anyone, but I know you guys were actively in attendance at most of the meetings last year, and of course you'll hear more from Sam in the network team report. But a couple of key projects that are coming up, one at the Tonsley Centre where we have the Maker Fair, for example, is still in progress, but I believe all the planning and everything for that one is done, and you guys did an excellent job of putting that plan together, so I commend you for that. And there's a few other major upgrades that will be mentioned during the network report, which you guys will see. They took a fair bit of work and planning, and I think you guys did a good job of executing those this year, even though I know a lot of you were quite busy as well with personal and work commitments, so much appreciated. Alrighty, I'm going to stop ranting and raving. Just on that note though, with respect to network team, I know a couple of the guys have actually secured some positions at ISPs and various tech companies around Adelaide as well this year, that's kind of been part of the reason why I think they've been so busy. And you know, we can't really hold that against them. We certainly don't. And most importantly, I'm hoping that your involvement with Airstream has somehow contributed to that as well. You know, that's what we're here for. We try and make that environment welcoming to people like yourselves that want to learn more about the technology and also become more skilled in the technology, so that you can use it to forward your career and these kinds of things. That's exactly why we're here. So yeah, we hope you can continue to contribute, and appreciate that as well for the last year. Alrighty, I'm going to hand it over to you, Mr. Sam, if you don't mind. I'll try and load your slides up. The one that put the presentation together. There are quite a few Sams in the room tonight. This is going to open up on the wrong screen if I don't do that.
No what? So other Sam?
Yeah, network. Are you the network Sam?
No.
Sorry, wrong Sam. Bring up the net. Sorry, my bad. Bring up the network Sam. Well, you were next on the list, so. I'll let you control. Brilliant.
Welcome. Sam from the network team, as you know. So this year we've had a few meetings. As you know, we are comprised of the people that Troy just mentioned. We look after the network, do maintenance, deploy policies around the network, and stuff like that. The network. Number of operational nodes this year, we seem to be at 169, with around 142 offline. This is based on user feedback in our NodeDB. The core network nodes expand from ERC to Lonsdale, which is about 54.2 kilometers in distance. From the most northern independent node to the southern independent node, which is Hackman down at Seaford Rise, is 78.8 kilometres. We currently have 439 active prefixes in our BGP table, with 134 active ASNs on the network. So this year we brought on a new core site, which was Oakton, as you can, which is located on Heritage College's gym. As you can see, it links up to Ross Trevor's west sector and connects to Valley View 2. There's a sector that has been added, but I couldn't find any pictures. It's an AC light that points into Oakton, and it's got a 90-degree beamwidth. ERC upgrades. This year we did some upgrades at ERC. We changed majority of the sectors to AC prisms. We found quite an improvement upgrading from the old M5 stuff. We regularly see more than 100 megabits between sectors. And the backhaul that now connects to Ingle Farm is its primary way out of the network. That does around 100 megabits as well. The old Gulfview Heights link has gotten a bit worse, mainly because of trees growing in the way. That does around 25 to 10 megabit. We did the O'Halloran Hill relocate. We had to move from the old tower, which was down the road, to the new one. As you can see, we've got two sectors, one that's points due north, and another one that points around southwest. So that links up to Highgate and Cement Hill, which that link has got quite a bit better since moving. Highgate Park. So this year we had an upgrade with we had a power supply die on one of the EdgeRouter X's, SFPs. We didn't know at the time, so we replaced the two edge routers with a Nutanix PoE switch and a router board 2011. We also aligned the Highgate link, which is the dish on the Ubiquiti 500, which now does, which links up to the network at about 100 megs it will do. That Highgate is quite a well-connected site. We've got, and it also uplinks to Terry with an Airfiber 5X at around 100 megabit as well. Apparently that's the end of that. We've got some other sites coming up, as Troy said. We've got Tonsley that the network team is currently working towards. We're just waiting on the university, and that's pretty much the network team report for this year.
Thanks very much, Sam. Right, next on the agenda. Yeah, actually on that point, if you guys do have any photos that you have taken when you've been on site at one of the builds, I noticed that it's a little bit sparse this year, so I think that there's probably some floating around out there. We need you guys to kind of get them in somehow. Well, I was going through the gallery this week trying to find out what the latest was there, but there wasn't a lot on. So if you do have some photos and things, even video from any of those builds, there was even a visit to West Beach this year as well for some maintenance, and we'd love to have those pics as well, just for reference and so that we can use them to do some promotion. That'd be cool. Alrighty, next up. Now, I know that Joseph hasn't prepared anything for membership specifically, but did you want to say a few words, or how are you feeling? Sure. I'm sure we'd love to hear from you at any rate. Let me just... Let me just put a generic picture up for you. There you go.
Oh, there you go. Generic picture. Generic picture. It's very nice. It's a great report. Membership this year was a little bit slower than previous years. Obviously, the members database issues that we had earlier in the year had a little bit of an impact on members and renewals. But the good thing is that thanks to the efforts of Sam, Goon Sam, that is, thanks to his and Hat's efforts, obviously, you know, there's a new members database online, and it makes it a lot easier now for people to renew membership and pay for membership and also track their membership. So that's, I think it's made it a lot easier to, a lot more automated on how memberships are dealt with. So that's been good, and Troy, I notice, has a few improvements that he's planning, or things, pull requests, as Goon says. Send me a pull request to fix it. So yeah, but on the membership front, yeah, a pretty flat year this year as far as numbers go, and I think everyone who's come to just the members meetings and so on has noticed that we've sort of had a lot smaller core of people around this year across whether it's committee, network and members meetings. So anyway, we look forward to the Maker Fair and the barbecue that we've got in November and December, just helping to get some more, get the word out there a little bit more about what we do. So cool. Thanks everyone.
Thanks very much, Joseph. And of course, thanks to you guys as well for volunteering to do these roles during the year. We kind of try and make that decision earlier in the year, what everyone can help with as far as a committee point of view. So these are all things that need tending to. And in that regard, I bring forward Sam Greenwood for the financial report. And Sam again has volunteered to do the treasury role this year, and he's done a pretty damn good job of it. As you'll see, you guys have all got the financial numbers in front, so please familiarise yourself with that as well. Thanks, Sam. Oh, let me get you the... Where's it gone?
I'm not sure what you've done.
You could do something crazy like that. There we go.
All right, hi guys. So as Troy said, I'm Sam Greenwood. I'm the treasurer for Airstream for this year. So on the table you'll see in front of you, you've got a copy of our income statement for the 16-17 financial year, and also a copy of the balance sheet from that period of time, just to give you a sort of an idea where money goes and money comes from and things like that. So for this year, as you can see, most of our income was from membership dues. Tony Dowmeyer doing fundraising and barbecues. Great work, Tony, as always, every year. And then obviously Aslan as well, that we have for fundraising, sort of did a bit of a reboot this year and had a small loss of $180, which I think turned around the land after that, but just due to reporting times, like with dates and stuff, it sort of looks a little bit low, but that's quite all right. So our network expenses for the year, we spent $2,843 on upgrades and things like that. If anyone wants more specifics, I can get you that info. But yeah, this year was mostly upgrades and maintenance and all that good stuff. Other expenses tonight, we just had our AGM room hire of $250 and our WA insurance, $460, just our $20 million public liability that we have to have. Yep, so network upgrades. As I said, is probably the thing we spent the most money on this year. It was a pretty small year compared to previous years, and I think that's just due to people being busy and just sort of less stuff got done. That's fine. We still did some things. So we have obviously all of our lovely stats of how much we've spent since we started tracking all of this stuff. So I'm not going to say every line, but you get sort of a good idea there that the network team are pretty good at coming in under budget on projects. So it's always a good thing for us, not having unexpected circumstances come up when it's like, oh, we're $1,000 short on a project, which is really good. I would have mentioned this last year as well, but of course Airstream has an ABN which we use for getting better pricing on things and taking online payments with credit cards and all that sort of stuff. We have a PayPal Here credit card reader, which normally lives in the fundraising box, which you guys can use at membership meetings to pay your membership with a card if you would like to, or raffle tickets, or we take it to events and things like that. So that sort of hangs around, just another way, makes it easy for us to take your money. So yeah, as I said last year, we're processing credit card payments online now for your membership renewals on the lovely online portal. If you guys do renew on the online portal, it makes it very easy for us because we don't have to do anything, which is pretty nice. And yeah, obviously thank you to Cashew, who provides us our accounting software free of charge. They do have a free tier, but yeah, they sponsor us on their business, entry-level business tier, which is still only a couple $100 a year, but makes all of this process a lot easier for me. Yeah. So thanks, guys, and if anyone has any questions, feel free to come and find me, and we can, if you need more specifics on anything or anything you would like to ask now. What? All right. Thanks, guys. I'll hand you back to Troy.
Thank you very much, Sam. Okay, so as a final piece of business there, if you guys can please just, again, peruse the documents provided, and I'll just ask that we get a motion from the floor to accept the financial statement. Give you a minute to do that. Don't all shout at me at once. Do we have a motion? Sean? He'll motion and accept it all at the same time? Alrighty, can we get a seconder please for financial report? Joseph B, thank you very much. Alrighty, just a show of hands please. All in favour, thank you. Cheers. Alrighty, now, next item of business is the committee, and as I mentioned earlier, we were fortunate enough to have exactly the right number of nominations and people willing to do the job as we did vacancies on the team. So those of you that are here tonight, I wonder if you could come forward. Just Tony's report. Have I skipped you, Tony? You're not even on the list, but did you want to say a few words about fundraising? Sorry. A fundraising report? Or I've probably talked too much already for you, haven't I? But come on down. Oh, goodness, already? That's terrible news. Okay, let us know.
Right, hi guys. Now, as far as the fundraising is concerned, we did have, unfortunately, we had one Bunnings barbecue which got cancelled because I'm not sure what happened, but anyway, I'm stepping up the pace this following term. We have one barbecue on 29th November, which you all know about, and one on the 23rd of December, which will be quite big, and I'm really looking for people to volunteer for that because that's going to be absolutely massive, that one. And also, we have another barbecue coming on in March, which I haven't been confirmed yet, but according to, this is at Bunnings Marion, we haven't actually had the advice yet, but they assure me that it actually is coming, and this will be on a Saturday as well. However, so this is quite massive. This will actually treble what we've raised before. I've also been advised that Marion has a Wednesday barbecues available for us if we want it. So I'm looking hopefully at least 2 people or 3 people to be available on a Wednesday at sometime next year. And it will be well worth it because according to what I've been told, it's worth probably about $1,200 every time we have one. Anyway, I'll be talking to people throughout the next few weeks about this. But apart from that, yeah, it's looking good. And just sort of following on what Troy was saying about Aslan, I was involved in their barbecue at the time, and I will congratulate them on what they achieved with sponsorship through the Northfield Toyota, North Point Toyota, sorry, and how they set it up. And all in all, it was the first 2-night Aslan they ever had, and it was pretty successful, really. They had a pretty good response. So to their credit, they did achieve, and they put a lot of work into it. Unfortunately, well, they did actually made a little bit of money, but so what? So they still, there was still a bit of promotion involved in that. So I think, in the future, I think Aslan still has a place in our organisation. Yeah. So anyway, I'm looking for people to help out in the next 12 months with the barbecues, because I think it's well worth it for us to be financially independent. We got a lot of upgrades and probably quite a few new nodes to put up over the next period of time, and for people to just spend a few hours to help out, I think it'd be well worth it. Anyway, that's all. Thank you very much.
Yeah, it's definitely well worth the effort when we do these things. So there's already a few documents online where you can register if you're interested in helping out on at least the next two that you've got set up. Am I right? Yeah. So please get involved if you can, guys. They're coming up towards Christmas and they're going to be pretty huge. We're going to need at least half a dozen people to help out. So, all right. So back to our 2018 committee. Could I get you, Dave, to take us through the nomination process, and perhaps you could then introduce the new members? Can't let you get away with doing nothing over there. Come on. Yeah, I've got everything you need. What do you need? You come here, you tell us how the nomination process went, and then you read out this list of names. You gotta tell everyone how to do their job around here. It's unreal. I'll give you my cheat sheet here, right? There you go.
Thought I'd get out of this.
Yeah, see, I can't let you get away with that.
So this year we put the call out for nominations prior to the AGM. All the nominations have to be in 1 month before the AGM, and then we go through and confirm the nominations with the people who've been nominated. Some people nominate themselves, some people are nominated by other members. And this year we had 5 nominations, if I can find them.
I'm not sure you're going to be able to work out who was the nomination on there and who wasn't.
I see, yep.
Yeah, well, here. Hang on a minute. So the new nominees for this year would be Sean Lever, and I believe, well, that was really it. The others were all just renominated existing positions. Am I right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, so this year the committees, previously the committee members, once you're appointed to the committee, there's no requirement to stand down, or there's no fixed terms for the positions on the committee. There's been some discussion within the committee this year about moving towards having a tenured positions for the committee of 2 years. So a number of the existing committee members who'd already been on for 2 years stood down to open up some positions to be contested. Several of those have actually re-nominated because they still feel like they'd like to contribute to the committee and to Airstream, which is great. We welcome that. And we've also had one new member put their name forward who hasn't previously been on the committee. And there's also another member who was appointed to fill a casual vacancy on the committee, who's also decided to nominate themselves to stand for the committee this year as well. So all in all this year, we've got Daryl Collins, who's been a long-standing contributor to Airstream and member of the committee. He's decided to step back a little bit for the next year. He's hoping to contribute more to the network side of things. So he's resigned from the committee for this year, but he is still a very active member of Airstream, and I believe he's looking forward to working with the network team. So thank you, Daryl. And the other members who have either stood down and re-nominated was, of course, Troy, Michael Kratz, Sean Lever, who will be a welcome new addition, Tony Dowmeyer, Sam Greenwood, Joseph Burford, myself and Sam Burney will be staying on with the committee. So yeah, all the members of the upcoming 2017-18 committee come up.
We need to get him used to being on camera.
So just hang on, we're equal height, so I don't feel like a dwarf.
We've got the sands. We're collecting Sean's now. When our sales combine.
Enough sands, more shorts.
Thanks very much, guys.
Now we know the scenes, so
Thank you.
thanks.
You did well.
Thanks, guys.
Right. Yeah, again, thanks to everyone who got involved with nominating your fellow members there. I know there were also quite a few other members that were unfortunately not able to make the commitment, so they declined for this year, but we appreciate the consideration anyway. All right, guys. I think that's about it for our official business, and that means we can have a bit of a break now and listen to some exciting stories of doing Wi-Fi. So I'll invite Josh and Sam from Beam Internet to come forward, and I hope you get set up, but please give them a warm welcome, guys. I'll let you do the honours. It's not that bad, was it?
You're all the way down there. We've got some pictures though, I don't know if you get to see.
Yeah, they're going to miss out. I told them to sit at the front.
We've got free Hamby gifts if people come to the front. See, we were only saying we were here about, I don't know, 11 years ago. We went to
11, 12 years ago, I think we bulk sourced some Lambo grid packs or something like that and distributed them in the car park at the primary school. So good to be back here again finally.
kick off this together, so I hope it works. But I think we're pretty open. You just want to ask questions or pretty open forum thing. We're no experts at this stuff, so.
So yeah, I guess we all started somewhere in our wireless journey. For us, it pretty much started 13 or 14 years ago with a Star Dropper ice cream container, slotted waveguide. I can't remember if it was a Minotaur access point or a 54G or something like that on a hill. So, so that's where we started all those years ago. Hobby for a little while. Built a network, probably 5 or 6 towers, something like that. You know, usual gaming business and stuff like that on there. Looked at joining it up to the Airstream network a while, well, way back then, but never sort of eventuated as we, both Sam and myself, went off and got jobs in the mine and at Olympic Dam, and yeah, it didn't really progress any further. But that network, there's probably a link or two still alive of it. We haven't quite got rid of it yet. But certainly things are a lot less dodgy these days.
That's because that Minotaur's never died.
They kept going, didn't they?
No, I think yeah, Ants ate one out. Rocket dish, yeah, a few rocket dishes blew up and a few bullets and things like that. That was obviously the upgrades after the Minotaur, but yeah, still exists. So why we decided to build a proper network, I guess you could call it, back in, it was about September 2015, we sort of decided that we were going to do something. For those of you that don't know, we actually have an IT business as well, called Kodo. And we decided we needed a bit of a marketing exercise, something like that, to gain some more business IT customers. And our chosen method to do that was to build a wireless network. I think everyone knows internet sucks regionally in South Australia. Satellite that's being rolled out really ain't going to cut it. Customer service from the bigger telcos is also a problem. Um, and it's fun, and we get to grow, we get to work with some cool people, we get to network, we get to come to things like this, so why wouldn't we do it? So presently, which you'll see, and if we've got some time or if you guys are interested, I'll show you our tower coverage. This is just a little snapshot of the network. All the green nodes on here are currently online. The orange ones are due to be completed when Sam stops being sick and gets back to work. Red ones are planned. They will happen most likely in the next 6 months, and blues with demand. What this doesn't show on here is we're currently waiting on a shipping container of NEC equipment to roll in. Should be here end of this month hopefully, and that'll actually get us over to Kangaroo Island. So we've got 8 links coming out of Murray Bridge across to Kangaroo Island on there as well. And yeah, as I said, if we've got time, we'll show you on tower coverage and show you what that looks like. The network, as it currently stands, so all the green dots, 168 kilometres long, plus 65 kilometres wide, so that's 2 years of 7 days a week. A lot of trial and error to get it to that point. Plans we're offering on there, 30 by 5 megabit services to customers at the top end with bursting, just using simple queues on MikroTik to the 70 by 20. The tech that we're using, as I said, we've tried to do it properly. So licensed backhaul between all major sites. I think our cut-off point is around about the 80 to 100 megabits of constant throughput before we'll put a license link in, but all the major sites have a licensed backhaul. Equipment of choice, NEC. So that kit there is NEC iPasso Link series. It's IDU, ODU. What you got there's, it's only a couple of grand probably. And then basically the other chassis that's being handed around is the IDU component of that. So we choose to put those IDUs in all of our main tower sites. It allows for capacity. It's got two onboard modems, so supports 2 ODUs on board, and it's got three additional slots on there as well. So the other reason why we put those chassis in, yes, it costs a little bit more, but it's a heck of a lot cheaper when you're putting multiple backhauls into a site. That particular radio that you've got there is 23 gigs. What's the throughput on that roughly?
It's maximum 56 meg at 2048 WAN, which is 650 megs or something.
Yeah, so 650 megs, all license based like any normal.
We run that up to about 6.5 Ks on 23. That's to do probably good 200 by 200, and then we drop back to 18 gigs, go to about 9, and then we go to 11 back from there.
We've also got SAF backhaul, which is kind of a little bit legacy. SAF was one of those vendors that we knew when we first started out due to previous employment. Looking at it now, if we knew NEC existed at the price point that it exists, like any of these specialised vendors, it's a little bit hard to find the contact initially, but once you've got that contact, it's generally, in our opinion, a better, more scalable product. Especially when you start chucking the chassis in. And TX power, so, disadvantages with SAF, low TX power, bigger dishes, NEC, high power, smaller dishes, a lot nicer form factor. And we use Siklu for short range links, mainly for customer deployments from POPs inside towns, if we're talking business grade customers. We also deploy those 23 gig links out to business and corporate customers as well, so we stay completely away from any 5 gig license exempt spectrum as soon as we're talking over sort of 40, 50 megs throughput. License exempt side of things, AC. I don't know if you guys can remember 2 years ago what the AC product range was like from Ubiquity. It sucked. It kept us awake. It made us question ourselves whether we'd made the right decision, all of the above. So Sam wanted to rip it all out, send it all back. I said, let's stick with it. Hopefully, it'll get there. They'll get themselves together and release some firmware that's actually going to work. So probably in the last 6 months or so, we've seen that really improve. We have some AirFiber 5X, so up northern end of the network, up towards Jamestown, infinite spectrum really, like not much up there. A bit of 2 gig equipment, where there's a little parcel of 10 houses or something like that in a patch of land in a valley that's got lots of trees and stuff like that. They're happy to just get something, or satellites are only alternative in some cases. Cambium as well, 2 gig, which has been really good in those areas, with the TDD functionality. We have just upgraded to the Prism to AC in one town, little town of McColta, and that seems to be performing reasonably well as well. Network side of things, I'll let Sam run through that stuff there. Give him something to do.
A few frowns coming, but we do use a lot of MikroTik routing equipment in our network. No booze yet. No, that's good. Like everything, we've had trial and error with these things. Definitely learning. We've just got 1072 here. No one's seen one of those, but they've given us a bit of grief with the connection tracking. But once they've sort of bedded all that in, they've been a pretty solid performer. 1036s are sort of in our intermediate borders that we run those now, and then the CCR 1009s in the passive cool version we run on most of our sort of larger sites, and they're purely all DC everything. RB960s, the little, what do they call them? Powerbox Pros. We use those in our micro pops and stuff that we run. Been pretty good. Our site's 100% DC operated, so we do use Meanwell AC mains, but they're fully, everything's 24 volts with rising number of gear in our sites is 48 volts now, and a few of our biggest sites will be going 100% 48 volts in the near future, because the likes of the Natonics and NEC all native 48 volts, so it's a lot easier when we're punching 40 amps through. It starts to get some pretty serious crap with the cable conductor. Battery backup, about 24 volts nominally, most of them are. Small micro pop, we have 20 amps. Our biggest sites have got 880 amps on general. And the solar sites, pretty much we run 500 watts of panel with 48 volt MPPT reg, which we can talk a bit about that. We started down the just the basic track of using your standard with regulators. My brain's went sick. The normal, not MPPT, your normal direct charge regs, and the efficiency we gained out of going MPPT and feeding in series at 48 volts, basically up to 60 volts into a 24 volt load was very drastic. So most of those sites have 220, about 400 amps of battery as well. Switches, pretty much we're a full Natonics house now. We started with the little MikroTik RB260 switches, and they got us through quite a few years, pretty solid units, but when we started having sites of 3 of those daisy chained up, it was a bit, started getting a little bit hairy, but they just worked. But now some of our other sites have got two 12-port Natonics in there, and I think they've got 24-port DC ones now as well, which probably go for. We had some Ubiquity edge points in. I think they're nearly all gone now, thank goodness. And all our fibre gear we get from Fibre Store, I'm sure you guys probably do as well. Some of the software we use, the Dude, that's pretty well known to a lot of people, but we use that for most of our SNMP trapping, power monitoring, mains fails, frequency shifts, route changes. What else do we use on there? That thing monitors everything. It's pretty bunter when you do maintenance on it, and it starts spamming alerts. It janks up our mail server pretty good. So we run Bind DNS and now moving to Power DNS for recursive DNS in the network. Our upstream didn't really like us pushing all our DNS requests out to them. Internode certainly doesn't seem to allow that many requests, we found out after a short amount of time. So air control, yeah, pretty straightforward. We use it mostly firmware upgrades, believe it or not. Grafana, started using that in the background. We haven't fully used it yet, but that's to take over graphing from the dude because it is struggling big time to render all our link backhaul usage stats and that. It's just crapping its pants. So Unimus, I don't know if many people heard of Unimus before. Nah, yet one. It's like a daily backup rotation, so it actually SSHs into the device and takes a daily backup snapshot. So that does incremental restores everything of Nutanix, Ubiquiti, Cambium, MikroTik, pretty much everything you can think of. It's a pretty good up and coming piece of software, and you buy a license for like 80 cents per device, and you buy it once and that's it, so it's pretty good. NTOP, I reckon there'll be a few people in here who've used that before in their time. Traffic analysis, pushover we use for message delivery. Duxtel, it's obviously not a unknown word in this room, so we use the Internet Commander platform for our radius and billings to the front end still at the moment. Tower coverage for SQ, basic SQ, what else, lead generation, all that stuff. A bit of radio mobile still for generating plots, and we use path loss in the higher level lengths of doing path analysis. We use a bit of Zello. I don't know if anyone's heard of Zello. Yeah, we use that in the field mainly, day to day, so can't really see all of that on here, but that's sort of a current network layout. Screen's cut it off, I don't know why. But anyway, it keeps going that way, so that's pretty much a very top hierarchical view of network. You can see sort of our data center cores in this part here, and then it fends off to the network on a couple of different routes, and then ends up in loops coming back into itself at certain spots. So down the bottom, we've just had a next-gen fibre commissioned up into Newry, which is a godsend, because before we were running on a single path, which was pretty problematic. If we needed to do any maintenance on it, it was pretty hairy. So now we've got dual paths into our area. It's really, really awesome. So yeah, so this is basically our screenshot of the base page. Interconnection. Alright, so I don't really know what you guys really want to hear, but we'll just keep talking. If you've got questions, ask. As we've grown, we used to buy Transit. We're a single peered organisation with Transit, and then as obviously Transit gets bloody expensive, so now we've basically ended up, we've found ourselves into 7 data centres, mainly in Sydney and Adelaide, purely to deliver layer 2 services for customers, and then obviously pick up peering. So we've picked up IXs in SA, Vic and New South Wales. I'm about to get Mega IX, which is, you can see on the right there, Transit's the yellow one. About 6 months ago, Transit was the whole lot. So it's, yeah, basically we've hit a point where it was much more cost effective to pull Transit, peering, sorry. And the SAIX, the light blue one there, South Australian IX, you guys all know about that stuff pretty well. That's obviously definitely in the last 6 months since we've had Netflix cache installed down here, and now there's a YouTube cache. I haven't seen it go up much yet, but that's just absolutely swollen up there, which is great. So yeah, and peak time we see about 1.2 megs per user, which I'm sure is nothing different to anyone else in the ISP game. You want to talk about anything? Or no,
No, I can talk about this stuff.
you can talk about some stuff.
So one of the challenges, I guess, that we had was towers, cost of towers, where to put the towers, how to get the towers to the place where we want to put it. So generally in our network layout, all our towers are on top of ranges. The lay of the land out there allows us to do that. We can shoot a fair distance off of there and not worry about interference. So one of the solutions we come up with is we acquired some 900mm face sections from a 360-foot tower from Moomba, and basically 10-foot sections they are. So we set about working out a way to deploy these things cheaply, easily. And the way we decided to do that is actually surface mount the towers or pour the concrete on the surface. So essentially Sam come up with a design. We got the sections engineered. I think they were engineered for, two 1 metre dishes right up the top. And then we come up with a concrete form design that was stackable. So if we want to build a 20-foot tower or a 40-foot tower, we can just add the extra section on top. I'll flatten out the ground first, put the formwork down, bring out the concrete truck, come and pour the concrete, go back a week later with a crane truck and put the tower up. So that's how we went about that. We have also made some standard mounts for it. So standard mounts for solar panels, standard mounts for boxes. You'll notice the boxes are all shaded by the solar panels, so we get away without any cooling in there. We've also, recent addition on that tower build is the ring up the top of the tower. So that allows us to put considerably more sectors in the same real estate. Yeah. And as you can see, some of them are slightly upgraded with some pretty serious fencing for cattle and things like that. More challenges, access to equipment in terms of co-locating, putting equipment on top of people's roofs, micro pops, things like that could be a challenge to negotiate that. Quite often we have to negotiate arrangements where a security company to be available to come out and let us in and do all that kind of stuff. Time, started out with just Sam and myself, or it actually wasn't even me, it was just Sam initially, doing things, doing new tower builds. I was sort of doing a little bit of the marketing stuff, but I was still mainly working in the IT side of the business. Slowly building up, so currently we've got Sam and myself. I work full-time in the internet side as well. We have a girl doing the support sales stuff and any questions or changes from customers. Then we have a shared accounts lady with our IT business following up accounts. We've got 2 installers out in the road base in the Barossa, one up in Burra and one over on Kangaroo Island shortly. Equipment bugs, as I mentioned earlier, Ubiquiti AC 2 years ago sucked. MikroTik sucks, if I can say that. Definitely has kept Sam up more than I, but me up as well, worrying about dealing with the customer backlash if there was any bugs. But Sam was the one that ultimately had to sit on the phone at weird hours and weird locations to try and figure these things out. Third parties, can I say it, bigger carriers, can be really painful. We always find ourselves waiting on someone else. It's not us, it's not our manpower, it's not anything else. In 95% of cases, that is holding things up. Demand, when to hire new staff, that's another one of those things. Kind of got to bite the bullet, have to be one step ahead. You've got installs, you might be running out a week and a half. Well, is a week and a half too long, but if we hire another person, we can pump out another 20 installs a week. So what do we do? Geographical scale, so just due to the sheer distance, we've said that we only want to travel an hour. So if there's an outage, we only want an hour travel to get to any location in the network. One of the reasons behind having someone based in Burra and someone on Kangaroo Island, that'll give us an hour basically to most of those locations. Obviously we're based in the Barossa. We need to look at filling someone in down at Victor Harbour or something like that as well. Anyone know anyone? Anyone want a job? Clutter data, height data, all that kind of stuff. Really awesome in the metro areas, sucks out in regional areas. Quite often we find ourselves guessing, going out to sites multiple times to do SQ sometimes. Go out there to do an install, have to go out there with a drone, you know, have to do all these kinds of things just to make it work. We don't have mapping data that allows us to just do it from the office. Client routers, we started out with Air Gateway, that was our choice, you know, really nice clean solution, in, out, 2.4 gigs on the side, happy days. Not so happy days, heads up. I think we made the choice to change across to MikroTik routers. We had about 800 or 900 Air Gateways out there at the time, so decided to make that change to MikroTik for a number of reasons. They actually worked, and also it allowed us to do some remote provisioning. It also allowed us to run tests without talking to the customer. So we envisage those sorts of things will be, you know, we might run speed tests on a scheduled basis just to make sure customers are getting the service they're paying for, and logging that back, automatically logging tickets on behalf of them before they call us. Which one's that? Is that Tough Cable? Oh, Trial Hill, Lightning. Yeah, so basically this here was a tower that we rolled up to. Wasn't currently in service. There's some more photos of it later on, but it's basically an 80 metre, or 60 metre, sorry, Hills guide tower. Obviously disused, we wanted to use it. There was no power connected, had SA Power Networks out about 3 times to try and get the service connected. In the end found out it was an issue underground, so we set about digging up the power cable and come across the lightning. Had blown it to smithereens as well as a telephone cable running to the site. Probably should have taken that as a hint that something wasn't quite right on the grounding front, but you know, we just got to work and got ourselves done. 12 months later, yeah, big storm, statewide power outage, lightning hit the tower again, paint missing from the rack inside the hut. Power supplies blown to smithereens. Yeah, not a good thing, and as you can imagine, getting up there to replace it, 60 metre guide tower in that weather was not good.
And we found later when we redid the grounding like that, yeah, it really wasn't. It looked like there was grounding, but they used zero gauge DC cable, and they've been hit by lightning, and the DC, basically fine fragments that all burnt off and corroded and all the lugs. So I put the home PS ohm meter on it, but it wasn't even ducked in the ground.
So
That's why it came through okay. So note to yourself, if you've got no ground connected.
yeah, so basically ohm meter, you know, things like that. You learn, you just got to buy the equipment and just do it properly. Same sort of deal, you know, with the license backhaul, you just got to buy it and do it properly. Facts, tallest tower 60 metres, one we were talking about. Highest tower 933 metres ASL. Longest link is 41 kilometres, point to point. Gates to open is 5, really annoying. Haven't come up with a portable solution that while we're building a site to open up the gates automatically, that would be really nice. Most power hungry site is 920 watts, which is actually our first tower, which is coincidentally at that very first site where that Star Dropper and ice cream container was.
10 years ago.
And 18 versions of Ubiquity firmware.
And that's legit. I counted on the laptop and the downloads folder we dropped through.
Yeah, so, yeah.
Running now. We've got some on 8.4.2.
842.
About to test 8.432, but a lot of our stuff's still 8.02. Quite a lot of it. And then obviously Gen 2s are 8.3.2. So we've got a bag of all sorts in there, but the 8.02's been really good. Where we've had that, we haven't touched it.
So yeah, we probably reasonably lucky. We know sort of certain sectors, certain areas that there's more understanding customers if there is something that goes wrong. You know, obviously no businesses connected, that sort of stuff. So we do try and test each firmware revision on the sectors before we roll it out, unless we're obviously trying to fix a bug that's popped up. This here is our old core site. So this is our single path that Sam was talking about before. It's the only place we could get transit at a reasonable cost. Out there, it's actually out at Roseworthy, so we're using, was an Amcom service originally, over the SaverNet fibre. So yeah, this is our core site. As you can see, what are the dishes up there? There's the two dishes off to the right hand side, the two 1 metre dishes there, or 0.9 metre dishes. There's SAF kit. That was part of our first SAF acquisition. As you can see, there's a multiplexer OMT on the back with 2 radios on the bottom dish and a single radio on the top dish. Throughput on those is roughly, should be 480 megs, 450, 480 megs per radio. So theoretically should have about 1.5 gigs on there, but you know, paths, what you can't see in the photo, some numpties built a greenhouse in the distance on top of that hill, and yeah. Anyway. And then we got, I think that's some NEC backhaul on there, so the bottom dish there, that there's going up to site out the side of Tanunda. That's similar sort of kit to what you had there. That's 18 gigs, is it? 11 gigs. 11 gigs. And the top dish up the top, which goes to a site out at Williamstown. A couple of sectors up the top, a couple of sections of tower on the roof, pretty basic really. And then we've got cable tray running along the roof, down the roof, essentially because we put it in a location that was in a line with some trees for that main SAF link originally, so we had to move it down the roof, and yeah, all sorts of things. Comes down into the box. That box now has some boxes mounted on the side with power systems, batteries, and an air conditioner on the other side as well. That's a photo of inside the box before it had the air conditioner and everything on there. So as you can see, cloud core, injectors, fibre up the top. It's all pretty basic. It's just had a makeover, about 2 weeks ago. 2 weeks ago, so yeah, a lot cleaner, a lot nicer now. That there on the left-hand side is a photo of a typical tower site where we've got a concrete compound. As you can see down the bottom, you've got your 2 power supplies, which is the one's in blue. You've got a redundancy module and a UPS module for controlling charging of batteries, all Meanwell. They haven't let us down yet, apart from the lightning thing, but we won't hold that against it. DC breakers, so we started out with fuse holders and all sorts of weird concoctions, and that's one of those things, you know, you're always looking for a fuse. You go out to site, middle of the night, you know, you don't have the right size fuse, or someone's put mini fuse holders in or something like that. So spend the $40, get the DC breakers from Schneider, sleep at night. Fan tray and a tonic switch, and then you can see the NEC chassis up the top there. And the one on the right hand side, pretty typical for a silo setup, grain bin setup. So hand railing, couple of clamps, couple of sectors. The sectors basically all around the platform up the top, and a little box. And we've got one of the box setups here. It's pretty standard, Natonics, TP'd in for power monitoring. This one here on the left-hand side was sort of our first revision of a solar repeater of sorts for customers, generally, or if there was a valley with 2 or 3 people in there, this is what we'd deploy. So concrete block, custom built mount, solar panel, box. As you can see in the box, I don't think that's the actual box there. You can see there's a few more cables, but similar sort of setup in all of them. Got your TP'd in, which is all your voltage monitoring and everything like that, Natonics, the solar regulator, and breakers. The new revision of those solar repeaters, is there a photo of it in here? No, the new revision of the solar repeaters, we've got hyper mounts fabricated, which is basically a star base section, 4 pegs, single pole coming up the top, stay coming off the side, same thing, solar panel, box, antenna. So we can use that same base section for a 2.5 metre mast or a 6 metre mast or a 9 metre mast and just guy it. This is out the back of our office. Heck, I wish it was that clean now. Ubiquity orders, equipment orders, getting them in all the time. hard to keep up sometimes with stock. I'm sure you guys have ordered some stuff online and it's never in stock and waiting for a particular part, which is a little bit more problematic, you know, when you standardise on, you know, a Powerbeam AC 400 ISO. We use ISO dishes on all of our customer points just for side rejection. So when you're not getting those things in stock or they're not in stock with the supplier, that's why we have to keep, you know, 100 or so in stock at any time, just because it could be months between. This here's recent addition, so this is where our next gen fibre comes into. So as you can see, we've got some NEC backhaul on the pole there on the roof, some air fibre which isn't ours. But as you can see, similar sort of thing to the SAF setup, dual ODU on the back of the NEC there. That'll do 1.4 gigs, full duplex, so pretty nice piece of kit. Compared to SAF, about a third of the price for similar throughput, smaller dishes. This here is just a typical growth thing. Ignore the megabit on the side, but basically, as you can see, that's our growth. This is just one of our backhauls. Very steady. You can see, yeah, sort of bit of a quiet period in August, September when people are coming into Christmas, that sort of thing, but it's just keeping on growing. This is formwork, wood, like I was talking about before, for the towers. 2 sections, top and bottom, 20-foot single base, 40-foot double base. It's just a nice picture. Pretty surreal, you know, to be out on top of a hill like that when it's not windy. And these here, what's that left one? Is that wind farm up at Hallett? So that's one of the towers up there that we're on, and the one on the right hand side is that 60-metre guide tower I was talking about earlier. You'll notice that only every second section is guide on that tower on the right hand side. You wouldn't catch me up there. Sam freaks out about it. It's never been to the top because basically it's the old design of the towers, which is what, 5mm plate. So there's 3 in each corner. There's a little tag of 5mm plate. That's all that's holding those sections together where they're not guide. Scary stuff. Luckily the guy... No. But luckily someone else, I think it was Motorola, come through and upgraded all the guide wires from galvanised to stainless for us. So that's, you know, consolation prize.
The problem with this, it's got massive linear verticals like out on the outriggers about this far out. And you look at it from the ground, they look that big, but it's like 2.5 inch still high. The tower just slops around.
So yeah, we're slowly working our way through, getting rid of that kind of stuff. You know, generally owners of these towers we find don't really, well, in most cases don't even know they own a tower. You just roll in and say, hey, that's your tower, can we get on it? And you know, they generally go yes, but then they don't know what owning a tower is all about, cleaning it, site records, that kind of stuff. So we generally try and take that over for them and clean up the towers and make sure they're in reasonable spec for climbing and those sorts of things. This is just on the next little hill over, but is our first tower site that we built. As you can see, it's reasonably low. It's Southern Cross Tower from the Maiponga Football Club. So we went down there, rolled in with a crane and angle grinder and pulled it down and chucked it on a car trailer and took it up to the Barossa. Dug a hole, broke a few jackhammers.
It's quite literally happening.
Yeah. Yeah, as you can see, there's quite a few license links on there. I think we hold the record with NEC equipment, most on the one tower, they tell us. So you can see that's the other end of the SAF link down the bottom there. And yeah, a couple of license links going out to various customers and sites and those sorts of things. This is inside that tower, so if you can see that little orange hut underneath the solar panels, that's what it started life as. But there was some repeater site from somewhere, got it back, sprayed it, cleaned it, put it all together and chucked some equipment in there. Done us okay until it was full. So that's what this site currently looks like. Actually, it's actually got more stuff in that than in that photo, so a little bit messy. I guess that should be added to the challenges page growth. As you're growing with customers, how do you take things offline? How do you do upgrades? So quite often 3 a.m. starts, go out there, run a few cables across, and that's why it does end up a little bit messy, and you sort of never get back to fix those things because it's just hard. I'm sure we can all appreciate that. So across there, what's there, 2 kilowatts of power supply sitting up there on the wall. You can't see the batteries, what are they, 220 amp batteries sitting on the floor along the bottom there of the wall. Shipping container, 20-foot shipping container, wall lined with insulation. And you can see the 2 Natonic switches down the bottom. There's more equipment on this tower now than when this photo was taken. 2 routers and 2 of those VR4 NEC chassis sitting up the top. This is another site which is a little bit interesting. It's out at a football oval out at Macolda. So council made us get it engineered. They probably should have told us that when they build these towers, they actually have to weld solid bits of steel on top of the tower to counterbalance them because it actually pivots over. So it's about 15 kilos of solid steel on top of the tower, and they're worried about us putting a couple of sectors and a 600mm dish up there. So, that's unfortunately councils, the community rallied together, found their own fund for some money that was put forward to keeping the grounds clean at the oval. But then the council had taken over the oval, so there was like 10 grand in funds there. So luckily the community went to the council and said, hey, we'll pay for this engineering for you guys to come in and put a service in. The other thing with that site is because it does pivot over, getting the dishes aligned up the top is a little bit difficult. Believe it or not, since that was first tilted up, that dish has not been moved. So if you can imagine it tilts over this way, it's pointing out that way. We had to imagine what it would be like upside down and sort of sitting there with our heads on the ground for a little bit trying to work out which direction it had to go. But we asked it, perfect signal.
We did have a boom with there and I was
Yeah.
getting up that high because the oval was sinking.
Yeah.
How tall is that?
That would be 18 metres, 17 or 18 metres, something like that. Quite a solid structure. I mean, it's probably yay around the base, 400mm around the base, 500mm around the base.
Built for a 2 metre by 2 metre square light up the top about 40 50 kilos. So it's pretty. Problem is we couldn't find the original drawing.
No, and the company that purchased the drawings didn't want to give us the drawings because engineering was our only option.
When we got there, that community were a pain in the butt.
Yeah, they were a pain. They were like knocking on our door. They were ringing us. They were ringing up the council, abusing them on our behalf. It was just ridiculous. No, we didn't send them. We might have, but no, we didn't. That was an interesting site, but we basically, it's only a small community. We're only small scale. We're able to service those 40, 50 house townships. We thought there was only about 3 houses out there. It turns out there's about 45. I don't even think there's any houses left that aren't online out there. Yeah.
Pretty good hit rate. There's nothing else.
There's nothing else.
Don't even have dial up.
No. This next one belongs on a challenges page. Freaking horses. They will steal your cable. They'll try and eat your drills. They'll come in the hut with you and try and kick stuff around. Really annoying. That particular day, he actually had a mate. There's not a photo of his mate on there either. Little pony. So they're trying to come in the hut. They flogged a box of Shireen cable and buggered off with it down the hill. They're real pricks. So.
I got a picture of him taking the mate with a piece of Cat 6.
Yeah, a piece of Cat 6 cable was the lanyard of choice around the neck. Walk it down the hill to the next paddock. And close the gate. Yeah. Savage. I guess one other story, going back to where we started out, with that Star Dropper and WAP54G and an SLA battery that went flat after 2 days. We tried out various bits of equipment. We tried out some Motorola canopy stuff, 900 meg stuff one day. Had it running on a tower out the back of Sam's house, and this is back in 2005. We're not quite as dodgy now, but we just chucked it in, whatever frequency, whatever. No, it was Telstra. We wiped out. I was standing out there, hear a car pull up out the front. I think it was a wagon. Out pops this dude. Had some little black writing on the door. Couldn't quite read it. And pops out, little 3-element Yagi up and down the tower. I just run around to his power box and just flick the bastard off. So, we've learned our lesson on those fronts. Heck of a lot more careful these days. Obviously, using proper equipment is what it's all about. Any questions at all? Yes? Because it's cool. We're the regional internet provider that services an island.
Have you looked at the NBN map for Kangaroo Island? This is it.
Yeah, so there's a need there. We had contacts there. It's sort of a rule of ours that, or back at the start, it was certainly a rule. We won't do anything unless it can make money, because that's what business is all about. But we're trying to do cool things. It's pretty cool to have, say you're servicing Kangaroo Island at the end of the day. If you can help out a community, that's what really, that's what we like to see. The amount of gratitude and feedback we get back from communities is just huge. Sam's going to find a photo of the NBN.
Nah.
You got much concern with NBN over using fixed wireless?
Not at all. Is that a trick question? No, I mean, you look at the overall design of the network. I'll pick Truro because I know it really well. They've got a tower. It's a long town. There'd be 300 houses or so in the town. Built the tower on the end of town, single sector servicing or pointing towards that township. We know that the throughput on an NBN sector is 100 megabits, 120 megs at most on LTE.
At the moment.
And they're expecting to service a whole town of 250 houses on that. So I think, and we're not alone in fixing the problem by installing micro pops in towns. Every fixed wireless provider is now doing that. That's the way that we're going to survive going into the future, is getting the tower closer to the customer.
Advertising, how do you sell attracting customers?
So attracting new customers, we've pretty well tried everything. We've tried giving away donuts. We've tried literally dozens of donuts. We've tried radio. TV's not really a big thing out in the Barossa area. Newspaper, pretty heavy newspaper, letter drops, pamphlets. We hired
that's a big thing. Yeah.
We've hired a 2.5 metre TV and put it on the side of the road and got told off by council.
It's too bling bling.
Yeah, too fancy for the area. Facebook's probably our biggest return on investment. I mean, we're talking, you start spending a fair bit of money. Cost per acquisition, I know you're probably not as interested in the business side, but cost per acquisition is about $75 in advertising. So about a month worth of service.
Which is not much considering how much a site costs to set up along with the containers and...
No. I mean, a site like that's probably got $180,000 of equipment in there.
That one.
And on the tower and container and power, it's not cheap, no.
We try and build a solar site in an area we can say we get basically straight on 10 recurring customers on there. That pays back within a year pretty much the cost of the site and the outlay. Yeah, so that's sort of the trick of keeping those bigger sites as cheap as we can, but the problem is we need to make them structurally sound because we are hanging 1 metre dishes off a lot of them and you try to think of how you do that at 20, 40 feet in the air on something else. It was a real trick of a thing, but it's keeping the cost down, like really crap loads of it cheaply but reliably. That's the trick. Like
Those surface mount towers, for example, I mean, yes, it's money, but there's about, what, $2,000 in concrete and site works,
grand and rebar in there,
$1,000
bloody
in
engineers.
steel. There's, truck hire, $200. Tower sections cost us $200 each.
We're lucky that we're in a country area. We know lots of people, like really. So it's. No, we sort of go into the area. We know someone and go, "Hey, do you guys want internet?" "Oh yeah, I know who owns that hill." "All right, you go talk to him and get him to call us." He rings me. I go, "I'll meet you up there." "Yeah, no worries. You can build a tower here." Job done. That's pretty much how we like to do it. If it was any more painful than that, like we've approached Crown Castle about going on towers, there's some laughing going on. And the bureaucratic bull crap, it'd slow our business and we wouldn't get anywhere and the costs would be ridiculous. So, but it's definitely the way to go. And these guys don't care where they go, quite honestly. Like a lot of our towers are where major telco sites are though. Like they are pretty good spots, but Joe Blow doesn't care. We give him free internet for a patch of land lease and he's cheering. We're cheering, everyone's happy. He says to the community, "Oh, towers on my property, rah, rah, rah," and they're all happy, so. We've got some, like we lease some space on other towers, but not really, most of them.
No, most of them are owned, and that's, part of the model really.
It's a pain in the butt otherwise.
To have someone come along, we want to build into these areas with 10 or 20 people, or the 10 people. If we can get 10 guaranteed connections, it's going to pay for itself. So if we're all of a sudden liable to someone else for a bit of tower space and they decide to up the rent, well, that makes it very not reliable very quickly. So, sorry? Yeah. Obviously, where do we lease the tower space? Not many. Most of it's contra-based. There's a few councils and things like that.
Mainly where we do deals.
Not much private enterprise. We lease the land from some people, so some people don't want internet. They actually do want money for land, but we try and keep that as low as possible. They understand there's a bit of a community aspect to it as well.
It's a licence title, the lawyers say. Yeah. This is a path plot of how to get to down near Kangaroo Island. This took a fair bit of figuring out actually. That starts at White Hill at Murray Bridge. I don't know if everyone's been there. Yeah, there's a few faces. Pretty good site. Hello. There's some people with stuff there. Here we're just getting a fibre optic commission there with NextGen at the moment into there, and basically to get from there to Cape Jervis is not as easy as it sounds actually. It's a nightmare, and until we actually used Pathlos and drove around quite a bit, it didn't really stand out, and this actually was the end result. These 3 hops to get to Cape Jervis from there, and they're quite heavy hops, but they support full modulations at 99.99, like 8% uptime, so they're pretty sturdy links. The first one, they're all 1.2 metre dishes on 11 gigs. We run high power ODUs, so they're up to, I think they run actually 29 dBm transmit power into a 1.2 metre dish, so you're up nearly about 2 kilowatts radiated power, I think. It's a fair bit. So, and these links are all OMT compatible, so we can chuck on another radio if we need to get up to nearly a gig to get down there. The second link's actually, that's space diversity link. So the path's a bit average. Well, it's actually a good path, but the sites are very similar in height, so we actually get a lot of reflection at one of the ends there with 11 gigs. Pops up Worth Months multipath, nasty stuff. Sure a few of you have heard of that before. Then the last link down to the wind farm down there at Sappers Hill at Cape Jervis. And then from there we going to drop over to Penneshaw and space diversity links as well, and then Penneshaw over to Kingscote space diversity. So yeah, it's a pretty cool challenge that will.
You're probably wondering why the heck we're bringing it out of Murray Bridge as well. We did ask ourselves that a couple of times, and the original plan was to bring it out of CBD, shorter. But the answer came from ACMA licensing fees, keep it all in low density, apart from one of those sites, which is in height. But
800 metres in medium.
Yeah. Plus
Yeah.
next gen's there.
Took a bit of price negotiations.
Yeah, a few price negotiations, a few quotes, but yeah, it ended up being a cheaper result to bring it out of Murray Bridge. Plus it allows us to drop straight into Goolwa, Victor Harbour, Strathalbyn along the way.
Pretty much the cost to build two 11 gig hops is the same to build one 8 gig or 6.7 gig we've calculated. So, and basically you get a hop in the middle where you can then distribute services from, and you get higher availability and higher speed. So it's sort of a no-brainer. And these, if you can break it down, but breaking it down anymore, it just went crazy in price. What else have we got to show from it?
In case you're wondering, rough price for these license links. I think we've got 9 links in total, including the Space Diversity ODUs, sitting around about 70 grand. So it's not as expensive as what it used to be. Certainly not SAF. I think we purchased 4 SAF links, and that set us back. No, 5 SAF links, and that set us back just under 100 grand. So certainly NEC is the cheaper way for us to go. We can deploy out to a customer. You know, if we've got the chassis at a tower site, we've got an ODU, dish, an IDU for the customer end, and a dish for the customer end. Comes in around about $4,600. So when you're talking 100 meg to 300 meg services, it's quite economical for a carrier grade service. Can't disclose. If you look at IX graphs and work on about 1.2 megabits a customer, you can probably figure it out.
We're pretty much steady growth from the start, but it's been hard work to...
Yeah, steady growth. I mean,
Anyone got graphs here?
when you bring corporate grade customers into it, you know, there's some customers that are on $10,000 a month services.
Because they're retarded. Yeah. Brainstorming.
What's that, sorry?
Cow's actually on a third-party site we're planning on that. I've got to remember my password.
Sorry, there's a few bits of information that we can't quite disclose just yet.
Yeah, maybe you should probably not see everything, but just don't go telling anyone. Have you guys seen tower coverage? Oh, no, we used to use it. What was that?
WISP Tools.
Wisp
RF
Tools.
Planner.
I'll keep up this way here. And
So yeah, tower coverage, we basically switched to, because the dude that was looking after WISP Tools was not responsive on support, and the height data went walkabout, so we were at minus 3,000 metres
yes.
height across the world, so it's very flat and very deep. So yeah, tower coverage we use for capturing EUS data, like customer sign-up data, that allows us to pick precise locations, run path.
That didn't work.
Run path analysis out to customers, so Sam will show that to you in a second. I think he's just getting the Kangaroo Island map up.
This is a rough map. Most of the Kangaroo Island build's being done from what our sources tell us, what ACMA's licensed and what people care about, I think. So, where the heck is the... Yeah. This is a pretty easy site to know. We use my NBN as a quick guide, or NBM N2M Alpha. It's pretty good as well to track, but that is essentially NBN on KI. So, yeah, it's quite sparsely populated down the end, but in a model like ours, there's hundreds, if not thousands, of customers to pick up through this area. And tower coverage actually, I don't know how, it goes off some sort of data, says in our area that we've got under coverage here is 1.48 million people apparently. Oh no, sorry, 142,000 people. So I'm not sure how it does it. We've never seen that before. I was like, oh yeah, that's pretty interesting.
The other cool thing about Kangaroo Island is it does allow us to offer some alternative plans. So areas like Vilman Bay, tons of holiday houses that are only occupied for a few days, you know, a week at the most. So it allows us to go and install services into those areas and come up with some alternative plans for the accommodation providers to use. Quite often you'll find there's you know, a single mob that manages bookings for the whole lot. So we just sort of try and find the top and filter down and get services in. You know, you find scenarios like that you know, some locations are quite happy for micropops, those sorts of things to be installed on the roof as well to get other customers.
Pretty much our current coverage area at the moment is, you can see here, it outlines this patch through here pretty well, like that pretty well. So You can see NBN seriously didn't like the Goyder Council. The town got all of a bit of scrappy fibre of the node on 4,000-year-old ancient direct buried copper lines, lead cladded, which they're having great fun with. And Yadunda got lucky with a fixed wireless tower they put in the shallow of the town, obviously for frequency reuse purposes, but pretty much it's literally in the hole, as you can see from the Valley. Our tower's just about on that road here, and the map is drastically different, but I understand they've got issues with frequency reuse and that, and the 3 gig band up there. So there's a lot in this area that we picked first that doesn't have anything other than Sky Muster, and well, we all know the controversy that's jumped with Sky Muster lately. So
the other thing that we've noticed, getting back to the NBN thing, is in Uganda there's 3 cells on that tower. One's been turned on. Sepultsfield, 3 cells on the tower. One's been turned on. And yeah, it's basically just due to spectrum.
Well, there's exciting. Anything else you want to?
I'll show tower coverage.
You can.
Sorry?
Let's see how long it is before NBN steals all your spectrum. Well, we're pretty much refarming 3.5 gig. We did try and get 3.5 gig for LTE, but we got in right at the point when they embargoed it good and proper. And we're in the Whisper unit, and they said they're selling it to the highest bidder, so that's
Not good news.
Some of Whisper know have been given 7 years to get off of it, which is pretty serious when they've invested hundreds of thousands in handy and 3.5 gig equipment, and they've got to get rid of it for something else if there's no alternative. It's pretty bad.
So I'll run you quickly through tower coverage. I know we've probably gone a little bit over time. All good, all good. So basically, yeah, we've only been running this for about a month and a half or so. As I said, we had a previous tool which didn't really cut the mustard when it went down. But type in an address, so we'll chuck in our office. And we're not in Berry, we're in Nirayukta. So it gives us a bit of a green shading on there. We can, it shows that we've got some coverage in the area. We can also then go and I'll put it on the house next door, where we're going to put it, do a path analysis on there. How many people have seen tower coverage in use? A little bit. And this is what it gives back to us. So shows us elevation profile from the tower. We've got a list of towers down the right hand side to what it thinks we can get to. So that's one tower, it's another tower, another one, another tower. And what we can actually do is, if we go to this here, we can see we've got some land cover, as we like to call it. And we can come along the path and sort of suss out where it is, so we can see that that bit of land coming in the Fresnel zone is up by the quarry in Anguston there. So really quick, simple, dirty tool. We don't have the accurate height data, so it's never going to be great. But yeah, we make do. We know the area reasonably well. We can sort of guess where the trees are around towns and that sort of stuff. Google Maps is pretty handy, you know, draw a line, look at the trees, look at a different angle. Street view is really good, you know, look at customers' houses and things like that. We don't have anything. But yeah, living in the country, the other perk is customers always have a chainsaw in their shed. They're always more than happy to come out and cut some stuff down.
They say, what tree? I went to a house once and he would find this guy funneled through his wood log a straight line. Like, about 20 odd trees he cut down the line. And the sad thing is we've actually got to move hours down there. We've got a bunch of trees.
So thanks for having us. Hopefully we haven't put you to sleep. So yeah. Oh, thank you. Oh, cheers. Thank you very much.
You have to share it though, sorry.
What is it? Is it Vino?
with us on that.
Thanks, mate. Love it.
Thank you.
You guys don't know anything else, or you're all...
Any questions from the floor or anything, guys? Thank you very much. I know we are a bit out of time now, but... And you guys had to run, didn't you?
Probably should. I'll get killed by the wife if I don't. Where's our solar regulator?
Oh yeah, make sure you get all your stuff before you leave. Yeah. All right, guys, we'll wrap it up there. Thanks very much for joining us this evening. We're going to continue, have a bit of a dinner, and there's no meeting in December. However, stay in touch over the break, and I hope everyone has a great Christmas and New Year's celebration as well. And we'll see you in January otherwise for the usual members meeting at the end of the month. Thanks very much.